Okay, please hold for Dave Sim for December. And getting a late start on this. The printout came in November 27th, and today is December 4th. Dave, this came in right after I sent the FAUX, FAUX. Chris Woerner, and want to mention that Chris Woerner is the most represented author by a wide margin in the Cerebus archive. His latest book, which I'm holding now, End of Debate by Chris Woerner. And just a partial list of his book titles: Life in Polonia, Double, Revolutions, President Present, New Fun, Invasion, Leading from Behind, Samizdat, Pop Cultural Stew, The World Turned Right Side Up, 11, Insecure Public Server, Out of Context, Big Fish, What I Learned, Uncivil War, the Horror Comics Picture Show, The Fall Closing In, The Facts of Roses, Convoy, Discomfort Provider, Division, Unearth, Resist, Spring Offensive, In the Details, Perhaps Not, and The Dutiful and the Band. So very impressive, very impressive. There's somebody who definitely has writing as an ongoing lifestyle choice, and no sign of even slowing down, let alone letting up. Anyway, here's a question. In Melmoth, Dave leaves out a scene with the punchline, quote, "You dear little Jew, don't you think that's enough?" unquote. Because he couldn't figure out a way to justify Judaism in Estarcion. How did he change his mind before the ending? Also, I just want to clarify the creative decisions made in the process. Dave always intended a religion to start that centered around Cerebus, probably without him even knowing it. Then at some point, probably after Jaka's story, he decided Rick would be the founder of that religion and covered that in Rick's story. Going Home and Form and Void were a way to keep Cerebus and the reader from seeing much of this. Okay, before getting to next questions, I did jot down some notes on what you're asking about to this point, Chris. In 1991, I had a cultural rather than theological perception of what Judaism is. Without the specific term, quote, "You dear little Jew," unquote, the line didn't work in the sense that, as an example, Est is a stand-in for England, and Lowerfelde is a stand-in for France. There was no there was no Estarcion mot juste for Jew that I could even pretend would convey the same weight. Oscar Wilde, the middle-class, disgraced Irishman living in exile in France, who aspired to be and perceived himself to be an SW1 upper-class Brit, intended a specific level of cultural and class condescension by the remark, which required that specific target. There was just no substitute for it. It was a no can do from a literary standpoint. In 1991, I wasn't as yet at the religious side of the book. I thought I had covered religion as subject with church and state, but I perceived at the time all religion as being diametrically opposed to personal advancement. The series of ascensions taking place in Cerebus took place not because of religion, but in spite of religion. You choose to ascend, or you choose not to ascend, and religion is an impediment to ascension. That's pretty effective distillation of my thoughts at the time. So long-term, Scott Fitzgerald and Ernest Hemingway as waymarks high and higher than that. And the Bible, falsely, as I saw it, perceived to be above them. They had both been atheists. Atheists were inherently superior to monotheists. And as far as I knew, that was where I was going with Cerebus, within that fixed, unassailable structure. My question at the time, the central question of a 6,000-page story centered around a single character, where was ultimate up for Cerebus? He could only get in his own way and fail, or get out of his own way and succeed. That remained intact as what I think is a reasonably accurate perception of everyone's journey, as they call it these days. That you can only get in your own way and fail, or get out of your own way and succeed. But the specifics have to be filled in. Cerebus's personality type didn't allow for the achievement of actual success, either as he saw it, as I saw it, as the readers saw it, as the bien-pensants, the conventional orthodox thinkers, either in our society or his, saw it. The higher he rose in conventional frames of reference, a hotel full of gold and absolute control over the whole hoi polloi being good examples, the more he failed. And not setbacks, but all the way back to square one. And again, that's across the board in his own perception, in the perception of his society, et cetera, et cetera. That this was always what he was doing to himself, and always came as a surprise to him that, like I say, there are people who have setbacks in their life, but eventually make genuine progress. And then there are people where it doesn't matter what they do, they always end up driving themselves back to square one. What I didn't get was that atheism and hypocrisy and ignorance were the actual impediments, not religion. I couldn't see or even glimpse the irony that my mental roadmap hinged on a book that I had never read, the Bible, proving to be inescapably false. I think that covers that. Now, let me go back to your question, which is actually a series of questions. Here we are. So it looks like you write. So it looks like Joanne and New Joanne were always intended to be part of the story, but like the Jews and Estarcion, this is another possible contradiction. The, quote, your turn, unquote, scene in Minds was to give Cerebus any opportunity to go any direction, right? Wasn't Dave effectively learning page by page that Cerebus had no interest in going anywhere except Jaka? Yes, very, very definitely. That that it was giving Cerebus his turn, and then expecting that he would have some other destination besides Jaka. That did come as a surprise to me as Cerebus's creator, that not only was he always being thrown back to square one by his own decision making, he couldn't recognize the fact that part of that square one dynamic resulted from Jaka, resulted from the obsession with Jaka. As you say, Cerebus's blind spot for Jaka remains central to the 6,000-page narrative, but he wasn't alone in that. I didn't see, and I don't think any of the readers saw, Jaka's parallels with Princess Diana until I was well into Going Home. I thought I was fabricating a story that was actually enacting itself almost daily in the newspapers, 1981 to 1997. The People's Princess, who was anything but. The distance between who she appeared to be and who she actually was, a widening chasm. She proved to be beside the point, and the problem was that she was perceived to be the point. So to sort of elaborate on that one, where is it? It's yeah, and then you're right. So which is it that, regardless of whatever Cerebus chose after, quote, your turn, unquote, eventually Jaka would return, he'd be with her until that relationship ended, and the last 100 issues would basically play out as we saw them, or that Cerebus could theoretically have displayed some other interest that would have led elsewhere. So yeah. Let me jump in on that point and say, I think I perceived accurately the dynamic of how life works. That whatever you go toward mentally, you draw toward yourself. In the same way that whatever you're drawing toward yourself, mentally, it has some sort of perception of you. So consequently, if you have an unalloyed interest where Jaka is the point of Cerebus's life, and that just gets more and more solidified, you are going to bring Jaka towards you. And if you the unalloyed becomes the problem, in terms of maybe if there was a mitigating factor that Cerebus had some other interest, that okay, you'll bring Jaka towards yourself, but you'll bring something else toward yourself at the same time that Jaka is returning. And that will color the way your story is going to go from this point on. As an example, Gerhardt's Cerebus's relationship with Bear, where that was just, as long as Jaka isn't here, then Bear is of central importance. Bear is drawn towards Cerebus. Cerebus is drawn towards Bear, but both of them are drawn towards each other as a distant second best to their female obsessions. As soon as the female obsession shows up, then that's it for pretty much anything else in their lives. And it's, I think I perceived accurately that, there's love, and there's deep love, and there's deeply meaningful love. But when it becomes this, no, this person is all that exists for me, then it does tend to turn your life into a burlesque. So I think that then answers your final question here. But then what about Rick? His religion, Joanne and New Joanne. It's well, those were all permutations and aspects of Cerebus's relationship with Jaka. If he wasn't being drawn towards Jaka and Jaka being drawn towards him, he would never have met Rick. He would never have met Rick and Jaka as a couple. Joanne is, well, okay. If you're going to make a mistake when you're with Jaka, this is probably the kind of mistake that you're going to make. And then that mistake is going to compound itself further down the line with New Joanne, where it's, okay, it's Joanne and New Joanne, but New Joanne is Jaka. But she isn't Jaka, she's a far worse Jaka that just happens to look like Jaka. What is it that you are moving actively towards in your mind and drawing towards yourself? And if a similarity, a physical similarity, fills that gap pretty much as it did with Cerebus. If she looks like Jaka, she might as well be Jaka. Then you're just asking for another pie in the face. So there you go. I hope that answered your multiple questions here and the overall thrust of your questions. I would just append to that a note that at the end of this, the point was that Judaism isn't a cultural thing; it's a theological thing, and I would explain that, amplify that. The same reason the Arab Spring was so short-lived. Arab is a cultural thing. Muslim is a theological thing. Theology trumps culture. So there you go. And thanks again for sending me all the books, Chris. Always enjoy reading them when they come in, and always looking forward to the next one.